About a year ago, I was struggling immensely. I was having all kinds of challenges in my relationships. I learned about my father's diagnosis of cancer. I was really struggling in my business. And I decided to take myself to Bali, bit of an eat, pray, love moment spontaneously. And I guess a retreat actually found me on LinkedIn very serendipitously. And I'm really glad that it did, because on that retreat, I had the blessing of being roommates with I can confidently say a long lost brother, reunited once again. And yeah, man, I mean, Chris, you have really mirrored back to me all of my own wounds and fears and desires, and you've supported me, and we've shared so many parallels in our journey throughout entrepreneurship and personal development and healing. You're a yogi. You're an ex-nurse turned passionate creative and coach and lover of life, and you just infect everyone with your joy. I'm really grateful to know you, man, and I'm really excited for this conversation. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And likewise, man. I will never forget that moment in Bali. They're like, I was supposed to have a room to myself, and they're like, "Oh, you got a roommate?" Or I saw a paper. They didn't even tell me. I saw this on a desk, and I was like, "Who's my roommate? Who's this David guy?" And then there he was, like the show you. There you are. And I instantly went from like, "Oh God, I have a roommate," to like, "Who is this guy? I know him." And I'm excited to get to know him. You didn't even walk in the room and we started riffing. And it was like, dude, I don't know where we left off in a past life, but we picked it up instantly. And even to this moment now, it's ironic that you're doing a podcast because I started one too. And as soon as I posted, I got on social media and there you were doing it too. So the mirror is real, man. And you're the most beautiful mirror that I get to look into from another country, from another world. And it's so cool just to reconnect with you here today. And I'm excited for this conversation.
I love it. I'm already buzzing. So cool, man.
Yeah.
So cool. And I think to your point just around our ability to hold space for one another, which by the way, for anyone's listening, like the people that you surround yourself with that mirror back something to you that might like feel slightly triggering maybe, and it's like, hang on a minute, like you can see right through me. A lot of people lean out because it can feel really uncomfortable, right? And I get that. And I did for a very long time as well, because I was really afraid of facing those parts of myself. I've leaned in more with you. It's not only brought us much closer together, I've learned so much more about myself, and how I operate and how I relate to my mom and my dad and my friends, my partners, and all the things. And you and I have spoken about this, but there's been a journey of reuniting, I guess, with the parts of ourselves that we've perhaps suppressed. I know for me, for a very long time, I suppressed the feminine part of myself, and I was really like caught up in hustling and grinding and action mode, and then really like burning myself out, chasing all the things that like the toxic masculine does, followed by then kind of overcompensating by just like completely checking out of my mission and my purpose, and like really working with, my energy and my intuition almost too much, so that I actually became really stagnant, and I just felt, unfulfilled, like nothing really was happening. So I really want to explore that dichotomy with you today, because I know this is something that you can relate to as well. Maybe define it for us. Let's start with toxic masculine. What does that mean to you, and how has it shown up in your life?
All right. Toxic masculine. I'm gonna take a little piece of what you started there too, is like, I think we all see ourselves, every aspect of life. I call it the mirror, right? But early on in life, it's like we see the nasty mirror. We see the ugly parts of ourselves. We see the dirty, dark spots that are our shadow and we don't want to look at, but we need to look at. And that's the beautiful thing of mirroring. But when we flip it, when we get to the other side, we have mirrors like this today where we get to see the best part of ourselves. And there's no moment that can take that away because we've done the work. But we got to the point of doing the work, you and I both, and I know this resonates with you, is like, because first it did start with the toxic masculine. And I'll say my father. My father was the iconic toxic masculine in my life. No matter, and I did recent hypnosis sessions and really healed this and found this out. And it was like, no matter what I did, daddy wasn't happy. No matter how hard I worked, it wasn't hard enough. No matter how clean my room was, it wasn't clean enough. No matter like when I was helping him, this was a deep wound of indecision and self-doubt. I would have to, my dad used to say, "Hey, come help me work." And I never helped him work. I watched him work. He needed a buddy to work with, and he couldn't just say that. He had to lie to me, right? But then in watching him work, I would instantly pick it up. And I carry the gifts of clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, and clairaudience through all the muses, right? And I remember as a kid, I'd watch my dad and I already knew what he was doing. My family will endlessly tell you, Chris's favorite words growing up were "I know." And now I do know, and I have the power to know. But back then, something that my dad did that forever fucked me up for a long time was he was working on something and I was bored and I was like, "Oh, I already got this figured out." And then he goes, "Hey, pay attention." And I'm like, "I am. I already know what you're doing." And he switched what he was doing on me and did something else and was like, "What am I doing?" And as a kid, I remember thinking, "I don't know what that is. You haven't shown me that yet," but I couldn't speak up for myself. And that was the start of my journey of the toxic masculine. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I did, no matter how much I knew, I always doubted myself. I overcompensated by working harder. I over delivered on every project just to make sure the person on the other side wouldn't say anything or any negative stuff about it. And it pushed me into becoming a perfectionist. And all of these are shadow aspects that I carried so proudly and so wisely, and was even like, "Hey, girls, you're looking for a guy who's a perfectionist, who overcompensates, who does all this stuff that my dad taught me how to do." They hated it. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't find love, partnerships in business, while no matter how great my videos are and how everybody talks about my work and how incredible it was, I couldn't see it. And I knew it was there and I could feel it. But no matter what, like, why are these people who are doing less than me achieving more than me when my dad taught me to work hard, to hustle, to grind, to even when I'm tired, not to speak up for myself? That was another big one was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'd tell him, "Don't talk back to me." Oh, so he created a professional fawner and people pleaser. I didn't speak up for myself. That was a big thing David and I talked about after Bali. But it's like all these scenarios is what toxic masculinity was on my journey. And then every person I would meet who was a guy would mirror this back to me until I started the journey of healing it. And I'll land this and pass the mic back and saying like one of the people that really helped me land this on my darkest, dirtiest, like literally the dark night of the soul was David, and it was after this retreat. And I know all the medicine's been sizzled out from this retreat and stuff, but it was like my test right after sitting with Aya. I'm in this dream place and I'm doing everything right, but it wasn't good enough. One video turned into two, 100 photos turned into 150. There was all these points where I needed to speak up for myself. I needed to do everything that my dad told me was wrong in order to do right. And I was luckily able to catch on quickly, but I wouldn't have been able to integrate it and ground it if it wasn't for you and our conversations, our Zoom calls, our nightly chats in the room, leaving Ubud a day early when the retreat was over, doing exactly what was right for us, but feeling so wrong. It was like everything that felt so wrong, David, you actually helped me feel that was right. And it wasn't through lying. It wasn't through coercion. It wasn't through any other negative thing. You would literally reflect back what I was telling you so wholeheartedly and so truly. And I'm like, "God, I think I'm a narcissist and crazy." And you're like, "No, you're stepping into your power, brother." And I remember that it was sitting in my room and it was dark and we had talked way past. And I remember just sitting in the darkness and there's the light on the other side of the screen. It's like, "Dude, you're doing everything right. By the way, here's a playbook of how you can handle it a little bit better." And every word that you gave me from Bali to on the screen back in Kansas City forever, dude, I'm forever grateful for it because it created, I'd say, the foundation, and I'm getting chills on this, that created the container to actually heal outside of plant medicine and find all these modalities and be vulnerable again, speak up for myself, share my power, and step into it. And that's where I'm at now.
So cool, man. I love it when you get into a channel. That's so, so beautiful.
And
And
I was like, "Man, I'm in a channel, but I want to pass it back."
no, it's so good, man. I feel all of that, and I'm really grateful for your words, brother. Like that's hits deep, and as we've spoken about as well, like that's man, I get it. Being raised by by someone who themselves, in many ways, like felt insecure and not good enough, and passed that down of no volition of their own, but like it creates this perfectionistic standard that we operate from, and that's basically been the inspiration for this podcast and this conversation that we're having as well, because when that's not balanced and healed and addressed at the root cause, which might look like healing the father wound, then those cycles of stress and anxiety and burnout and hustling and grinding continue to perpetuate themselves. So it's like really, really beautiful to hear how you come out of that. And yeah, I'm wondering, like, what do you feel has been, if you can share for someone who's listening who can really relate to this. And, I'm sure we're not the only two guys in the world who've perhaps been brought up with a father as we've described. What would you offer to them, and what would you say has been the biggest part of your healing journey to really heal that, that masculine?
It's the now. It's happening now. I actually, before this podcast, I shared one of the most profound things with you, and it's like, my dad's my superhero. After seeing all that about my dad, before I started to heal it, I realized this. I was like, he's not the villain, he's the hero. Number
Mm,
one, I know I'm an indigo, but he's an indigo too. He has every gift that I have. He has every talent that I have. He actually sacrificed his life in this lifetime for me to follow behind him, because I know if I do anything like him, I turn into him. And that was
mm,
my greatest motivating factor to, and it wasn't a sense of like I had to endlessly, what is the word, rebel against him, right?
mm,
It wasn't a rebellion, it was this inner knowing, but he took it as rebellion. And I know he was in his like, why can't this kid listen to me? And I wasn't ever supposed to listen to him. That's the whole trick. But he
yeah.
created the greatest entrepreneur this planet will see, I feel. It's like, he taught me hard work, which now still carries over, but is very grounded. He taught
Mm,
me resilience. And even though I should have left situations in the past, now I know exactly when to leave. And though I didn't never spoke up for myself, now I instantly speak up for myself. I'm like, hey, that doesn't fit for me. I'm out. And there's no
mm,
there's no fawning, there's no people pleasing. Now it's power, not force. And it's literally just having that foundation, because something I want to share with anybody listening is like, your shadow is your greatest magnet in life when you heal it. And in
mm,
having these shadows, a people pleaser, self-doubt, and what was the other one? I always forget the third, scarcity. My dad taught me
mm,
scarcity like a pro. Now I'm the most abundant, powerful, confident person in any room I walk into, to the sense my nervous system will take over other people's rooms when I walk in. And I notice people in the room start mirroring how I'm acting in the room. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. But
mm,
it came through a cycle, right? Like everything goes in cycles. If you want to feel the highest high, you have to feel the lowest low. If you want to see outward in the world as far as you can go, you got to go really deep in. And it's the same thing to be at the highest level in life in any aspect, you have to go through the mud. And it's no different than the lotus. It's like we start off as a seed. We're pushing through the darkness. We know where we're going, but we're like, I don't know where I'm going. God, help me. Please help me. And then we start begging to God. And God doesn't want us to beg. He wants us to tell him exactly what we want, very clear and very precise. But it's like
mm.
in going through all those hardships, all those troubles, seeing somebody as a villain, but it's that moment that you see them as the hero that the journey starts. And it's in that moment that you're able to look at the meanest, darkest person in your life and say, thank you. That's the healing container. I can say that
Yeah.
about my bosses that I hated because they were showing me my power. My dad, he showed me my power at the youngest age, and now I'm stepping into my power. I stepped into my power. But the coolest part is now I'm helping my dad heal, because that's my contract. Our parents raised us, but we also parent our parents. And it's
Mm,
like, in fully healing this, it's not fully healed yet, I guess, because now I have to heal my father. And it's up to him, but I have every tool in the book that I've learned and he also taught me, and now I can give him his own medicine back. And he's actually receiving it because I know how he operates and I know how to put it in front of him in different ways. But it's not about me being like, Dad, I was right. I was always right. It's like, Dad, I love you so much and I'm so grateful for how you raised me, even though it wasn't the way that I wished it was. Now I see exactly why you did it, and now I'm going to show you what I do with the life that you pretty much created with me.
wow, so beautiful, man. And I completely agree. Like the turning point is when it's like victimhood to powerful create of your reality, from blame and shame to gratitude and privilege in some ways. Because I love the way you articulated that as well. Because I think, for most of us, I would assert, we perhaps would have wished to have experienced a different childhood. Having gratitude for the way in which we've been raised, it's not bypassing. It's not saying, oh, well, other people have a lot worse. It's actually like you pointed out, going deep and going within to uncover the kernels of truth and the lessons that upbringing actually offered, because there are some serious gifts in there. And when you can find them and you can appreciate them and own them, which does require, owning your shadow, or owning those unbalanced qualities of hustling or people pleasing or, perfectionism or scarcity or whatever it is, right? Then, you're able to genuinely get into a place of gratitude and be like, yes, like I love you. I see what you've been through. I see how much you've suffered, and I have nothing but compassion and love for you. And I thank you for, how you've engaged with me and how you've cared for me and how you've loved me. Because if I hadn't experienced that, I wouldn't be the man that I'm proud to be today. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man. That's so
Yeah.
cool. So
Thank you.
cool.
Can I share one more part? I got a little hunch I wanna throw in there too.
Yeah, yeah, please.
And it was the moment that I realized this too, just to like put the cherry on top of this, is like I was the most successful entrepreneur I'd been. I was the most talented, the most skilled. I had the years, I had everything. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't move the needle. And that was the moment I realized there was still deep stuff down inside of me that I needed to heal. And it wasn't, and I knew it was the dad stuff. It's like how much hard work, all this stuff. And it turned out to be like, that was the moment that everything started to shift when I asked that question. I was like, "What else do I need to do?" And it was outside of me, and it
Mm,
connected me with other people, and one of those people is currently my business partner, and he was the one who really sprinkled it. After a hypnosis session with this lady named Jody, who I'll happily share a contact with anybody, but then she did a session, and this guy, Spencer, who I'm doing business with here in Austin, he endlessly healed my dad wound because he showed up vulnerably. He saw me. He endlessly didn't tell me what to do and control me, and he knew what I needed to do or how to do something around me in order to get me to do it without manipulating me. It's like the positive form of manipulation is if you don't tell them
mhm,
the answer, you help them walk to it. And
mhm,
in that is when the dad one really started to get healed. But then I also shared the magic and healed Spencer's had a dad wound. And in sharing how much he helped me, a brother just like you, it worked everything and it got the ball rolling even faster. And that's what I mean, like the power of the mirrors of the people around us is like you don't actually have to do the healing initially with your dad. You can find a brother who mirrors you, who relates to you, who feels what you feel from another body in another world
mm,
with the same experience. And by just talking through it with them, you start to unravel the knot. Like it's like a really deep knot, and you're trying, but then it's like, "Hey, David, you're a pretty strong guy. Here, you wanna?" And David's over here like, "Man, it's not that hard. What are you talking about?" And it's like with brothers and other fellow men, that's how you start healing your dad when you don't initially do it directly with your dad. It's the
mm.
guys around you who see you, who help you, who don't force you, who don't control you. They literally honor you and they hold so much space for you that they allow you to start healing it yourself. And when you figure it out, that's when you have the conversation with your dad. That's when you tell him he's the superhero in your life and it wasn't the perfect childhood, but you create the greatest person the world's ever going to see and you're the man who made it, you know?
That's beautiful, man. It's seriously important distinction to make, right? Because I think for, one of the mistakes that I've made in my journey is falling into the trap of trying to fix and trying to save and trying to heal
Mhm.
parents and change them, right? And you can't do that. You don't do that. You can't do that for anyone, right? And it's also like I don't think anyone can heal anyone else. It's like you're saying, it's in co-regulation, it's holding space for someone, it's offering that sanctuary of peace and non-judgment and compassion. That's where healing begins. And really, really beautiful to touch on, man. And I think like sometimes maybe for someone listening, if you can relate to my journey, you hearing all this and you're like, oh man, yeah, I got some daddy issues. Yeah, I got some mommy issues. Yeah, like yeah, I'd never feel like I have enough time or money and I'm trapped in scarcity and I'm insecurity. It can feel really overwhelming, right? Like so overwhelming. And I know I've felt for a very long time in the past, like, man, I have so much shit that I need to how have you like navigated that and how have you been able to continue staying committed to this and have this, beautiful revelation that you've shared with us around your dad? Um, you know, can you relate to that and can you
Mhm.
speak more to that?
Yeah, I think I started to tiptoe on it. Maybe I was pulling it from you, but it's like that ability of like when I hit that peak in entrepreneurship, I hit the money peak, and I was like, all right, we got a 6-figure year coming up now. Nope, because we didn't heal the dad wound, and I knew something was in the way. And that's what I'd say. But your greatest obstacle in life is your greatest doorway to success. And
Hmm.
that's what it's all about flipping it. I noticed the mirrors around me and the masculine started getting really positive. They're all geniuses. They're all creative. They're all serial entrepreneurs. They're multifaceted creators. And I'm like, that's me. I'm seeing myself now. We're on to something. And as soon as I picked up that trail, I was like, oh, we're on to something. We're going to keep going. And I'd say that's one of my toxically positive traits is like when I discover something, I get so obsessed. I don't even like the word obsessed. I get curious. I know curiosity is one of my superpowers because I'm like, wait, I'm aware of that. I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm seeing through the illusion right now. And I'm seeing all these guys around me are just like me. We're doing some work. Okay, stop there. Stop going forward. What did we do to get there? And
Mm,
what was that thing that happened before I saw the shift? And for me, that was just like one hypnosis session started to clear the way. And as soon as that session ended, no joke, this guy, my buddy Spencer, hits me up. Hey, you want to come over and jam? Which means work here in Austin, right? And I'm like, this guy finally invited me. I'm like, I know this guy's a future business partner. I know it. But he invited me over right after that hypnosis session. And I'm like, we're
mm,
on to something. And then you know what he said? I walk
yeah,
in his door and he goes, I'm about to change your life. And I was like, I know he means more than what's that. That's just a really good omen. And then that just literally got the gears going. And I was like, cool, I can't wait for my next hypnosis session. And I
yeah,
knew I hadn't been in good communication with my dad at that point. But it
yeah.
was essentially like at that point, I was like, we've moved the needle. That was way easier than working hard. And now it's like the ease of work also followed that. I'm not having to work as hard. And I picked up all these trails of all the negatives that I spoke and I saw those positives and I was like, this is it. It's gonna work. And then it started working and then the conversation started opening. And I won't spill this bean yet because I don't know if we're gonna share this aspect, but it was also like after my greatest day came the greatest test of how I was gonna start healing the relationship with my dad on a very deep, I wanna say like cellular level,
Mm.
all the way to our cells, not in our brains, not in our bodies, but to everything that we're made of. And that was the process that started.
I wanna hear from you, man, just around this like father wound related to achievement and yeah, like progress and forward momentum, whether it's in business and careers. Because there might be a lot of guys and gals, and anyone who might be listening who is hearing this and is like, how on earth is me healing my father wound gonna help me have greater success in my business or
All right.
in my career? So can you talk about that the relationship there and yeah, how that's connected?
Yeah, jump in anytime too on questions because I know a channel's gonna pop open and I'm very nonlinear, so keep me linear. But it's like, for instance, my dad, all he cared about was money. I saw my family get ripped apart because of money. My dad hurt his hand, my mom had to work multiple shifts, he didn't pick up at the masculine, sat in a chair all day, didn't know what to do, and my family fell apart. No matter what, all my dad would talk about is money, 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 money. And I'm like, man, this guy loves money. I should too. So then I got into entrepreneurship and I've always known I'm going to be ultra like I know I'm a billionaire. I'll state this here. This would be a good documentation of it. But it's essentially I've always known I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to be filthy rich. And it was like, oh, I'm going to be rich so I can buy the car that my dad never had. He always attached worth to material things. So like, oh yeah, I want a badass Range Rover. I want a super huge mansion, you know? I want to get into entrepreneurship, not to create impact, but just to make a lot of money so that my family can have and I can have. Big word there, ego. I want
Mm,
everything for myself. I'm going to show my dad how successful I am by getting as much money possible because money was the most important thing to him ever. So I worked for money. I traded time for money, which is a big no-no. That's like absolutely terrible in entrepreneurship. I would endlessly take deals with clients so I wouldn't be bored that didn't pay enough, which would lead to the worst clients ever, doing way more work and not being compensated, which would lead to burnout. That cycle never stopped. It continued. And I remember thinking, God, why did you make me a videographer and a photographer? I hate technology. I'd rather be in nature. I'd rather be traveling the world. But like, why am I in this space where I'm working with these pain in the ass clients? I'm supposedly doing your work. I'm creating these marketing videos and photos. They always complain about them, but other people see them and they love them. Like, why does this madness keep happening? I'm doing your work, I'm following the path, but that was from the wounded mindset. And it's
mm,
like because, and I'll get to the transition of this too, but it's like in this specific scenario, I was very egoic. It wasn't about impact. It was all about money. It wasn't about what I did. It's how I showed up and how much I did. And all these are the perfect recipe for burnout. And if you're somebody who's burnt out, you either have a mother wound or a dad wound that is so massive. There is nothing that you can do with your time, energy, focus, attention, any of your superpowers that you're hiding below the surface of this wound that will move that needle. And it's that exactly because can I? can I switch to the opposite now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in healing this wound, I instantly went from, I know I'm going to be a billionaire to like, I can't wait to be a billionaire because I'm an impact driven entrepreneur. I want to create 1 million millionaires on this planet. And even in saying that, somebody's like, how are you going to create a million? That's impossible in time. Well, I know if I create 1 millionaire, that'll create 10. Those 10 will create 100. Those 100 will create 1,000. And I don't have to do it alone. And now I have trusted business partnerships. I look at money as a tool of what can I spend this on or invest in myself or in others to really get my mission out there. It takes this partnership, it takes a team, it takes a tribe to conquer this world. And I know I'm here to conquer in the most positive ways, but I tried to do it all alone. I was a one man band. I was solo. I was a loner. I was a lone wolf. Even though I wanted to work with people, I'm like, what's in the way? God must want me to. But now it's like, I'm surrounded in a room of probably the most 15 powerful entrepreneurs in Austin, Texas, who are connected to the next 100, who are connected to the 1,000, who are connected to the millions. And I literally this past week was in a mastermind from Wednesday to Saturday.
Mm,
It was called Event Profit Machine. Literally, half that room was 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs. And I'm like, how did I end up in a room with all these impact driven people who are just like me? And then I'm
mm,
like, oh my God, my brother got me in here, right? And then he also leveraged me to his friend. And it's like, you can kind of see the effect there. And you can ask questions for more details, but it's like, I was able to get in that room because I healed the wounds. And by healing the wounds, that got me in the room, that got me in front of people. And now I'm in a place of multiple partnerships. And my mission went from like, oh, let's get 5. Well, I already got those 5. Now I'm like, let's get 10. And somebody's like, how are you going to have 10 partnerships? And I'm like, I'm the creative genius. I'm the guy who simply shows up and is like, let's figure out your purpose. Let's give you clarity. Let's give you a very simple strategy that you can recreate on your own and you can do it with effort and ease. And that's why I can charge 10 grand for 10 minutes now because I know how to shift people so fast from that dirty foundation my dad gave me. And after
mm,
healing it, now it's created this magnet that I can walk in any room and work with anybody. And I can tell exactly who I'm going to work with and how I can help them instantly. And the
mm,
old me would have never been able to walk in that room, hold these partnerships, create this simple model, and allow people to do the work with me because it was so wounded. It was like, no, it's me. I got to do this all alone. Let me carry all the way to the world and burn out 100 more times because I love hard work, pain, and resilience. Or my Capricorn joke. I got a cap stellium in the first house. It's like I was roller skating uphill, and then I did all
yeah.
this work, and I said, you know what? Let's take them off when we walk up the hill, but when we get to the top, let's put them on and go down the hill as fast as we can. Let's find a couple homies at the bottom and say, hey, instead of roller skating up that hill, if you take them off and walk, we can have a good conversation. We can connect. We can share our love and vulnerability for one another. And then when we get to the top, it gets fun again. We're going to put the skates on and we're going to go down and get some more people and show them how fun this is. And that's like
Love that.
the cycle of what I'm in now. And it's beautiful. And I love that this podcast landed after all this work because it is my mission now to share this with anybody. Because I think if you're in that dark and dirty spot, like you're there for a reason and you're going to sit there as long as you can until you amplify that fear, that wound so bad that it causes you to act. And that's the greatest gift you're giving yourself is how
Mm,
long are you going to sit here? How long are you going to hold this tension against your dad and all the negative energy and the powerhouse that he created, whether you're a guy or a girl, and like say, screw this pain, screw this agony, screw this anger, resentment, and all the terrible emotions that drain your energy and cause you to lose everything that you're here to do, and just face it and say, hey, how can I work on this? And when you ask that question, it's really not the how, it's the who. Who in your life do you know that you can start a conversation with to really get
mm,
the wounds open? And then once that person's time's up with you or they're holding space with you, somebody else is going to attract. And you need to be aware of who these people are because no matter where you're at, association by proxy attracts these people to you. And it's your
mm,
job to identify which ones you can trust, which ones relate without trauma bonding, and really get these conversations going. Then the next person shows up, then the next shows up. And then you go from the student to the teacher, where it's similar here today, where I'm like, I'm not sharing this story out of ego or like, look how much hard work I've done and look how much success I've created in such a short period of time. I know
mm,
anybody watching this is going through the same thing. And I want to empower you to literally start that conversation. Find somebody you trust, talk to them. Start like be vulnerable. Vulnerability opens doors. That's how David and I have really connected was through vulnerability and being like, we're both on the surface at the time, these super successful looking entrepreneurs, but we're both, man, we're working hard and we got very little money. We're grinding out and we're burning out and we got no energy. We both somehow ended up at this retreat and we're like, this wasn't what it was supposed to be, but we're making it what it is now because I didn't get hired to show up to the retreat. I went to the retreat to meet David to have this conversation today.
Spot on, man. Spot on, man. I love watching you jam.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
so cool. So cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good point just around like just trying to take the whole world and put it on your shoulders, like Atlas. And that was definitely part of my programming and my upbringing. And it's like, yeah, me versus the world,
Yeah.
which is, yes, such a telltale sign of an unhealed masculine and father wound. And something that I want to speak to and just touch on as well, because, you talk about this anger and this resentment. And I find in my work is it's often like one of the most common unexpressed or suppressed emotions, particularly in men, which, we know now through research into somatic modalities and healing that holding on to these emotions is not good for the body, not only because you're suppressing, energy and not letting it flow freely, it can lead to physiological diseases, and it takes way more energy for the body to hold on to them than to let it go,
Way more.
and it just opens up so much more creativity and this like inspired action that you're talking about and receptivity to support. Like I think it's been one of the biggest things that I've struggled with, like to kind of circle back to my initial point, like just knowing and trusting that there are resources and safety that are trying to make their way to me. But for so long, because I've been so stuck in my own head and unwilling to, face my shadow to heal this wound, I've just said, no, I don't need any help. I've got this. I'll figure it out on my own, and just hearing you talk, I can see how much more supported you are and how much more of a flow state you've slipped into because you're kind of working with the current of life and with the people in your community in Austin. It's really cool, man. And I know, like, hearing you talk about this and how you're stepping into these rooms and like the partnerships that you're building, like this, it wasn't always like this. And we've spoken about this, especially in Bali, around addiction in the past and where we've come from. And I know, like, I can step into rooms now and I feel really confident in myself, but I really used to struggle with social anxiety. I was terrified of opening up my mouth and contributing to the conversation with friends, let alone like business people, because I thought that I just had nothing of value to add. Yeah, it was just like, it was suffering. It was so much suffering. And so I'd love it if you could sort of perhaps take us back to, where you've come from, maybe even like your nursing days and perhaps one of like those pivotal turning points for you where you realized, yeah, I meant for more than this. And I would assert, part of you may have connected with this version of yourself that's sitting across from me now and knew like, yeah, I'm outgrowing this environment. Like what had to happen there? Walk
Well,
us through that.
it happened for me. I love how you brought this into addiction because I think we all find substances. So it's like any dopaminergic. So that would be like Molly, cocaine, any of those. That's what we use to replace relationships. Okay. And I'll bring this back full circle to your question. And then it's like weed. What is weed? It's fake relaxation, right? It's also a tool that I use now very well for clairvoyance, but it's like we do that so we can sleep. We drink caffeine so we can wake up. Why do we use all those? Well, it's called self-medicating. And when you dishonor yourself and you have all these wounds and stuff in you self-medicate, right? Well, unfortunately, I self-medicated when I was in the medical field. And I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, right? So I was a very creative kid and I knew I was going to be famous at like age 7. I still had the vision in my head and I was like, wow, this is going to be an easy life. Well, high school came around and mom and dad are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to go to college. I'm sure, because that's what they wanted, right? I didn't want to go to college. I never wanted to go to college. So they're like, dad's like, you got to get a degree. You got to have a safe job. Mom's like, just go make dad happy. And I'm like, okay. So I got a bio degree, the most open door thing possible. And dad was always like, he worked on dental offices. So he's like, be a dentist, this is, this is always a safe career. People always have cavities. You'll make $100,000 a year. And I'm like, okay, sure, bio degree. I really wanted to play college golf. But even when I got to college, I was like, I don't want to be here. Called my mom. I don't want to be here. Stayed. Wasted 4 years of my life, 5 actually, because then I go to nursing school. Did a 1-year nursing school because I was like, well, I got a bio degree, but I don't want to be a dentist. So I'm kind of like my mom. So let's go to nursing school. 1-year program. We can put our head down and work. We're smart. We can do it. Did an accelerated. It sucked. Welcome to burnout. That was my first experience of burnout and never knowing it. Sucked. And I was like, it's okay. When you make money, this feeling fades away. Well, got out of nursing school and was like, I do not want to be in this shit. I'm really digging myself in a deep hole. So then I go and I'm like, all right, we're working at this hospital. It's adults, hematology, oncology. Really taught me how to take care of myself because I'm like, I never want to be in a bed like these people. So I ended up leaving and going to a pediatric hospital where I worked on liver, kidney transplant, and rehab medicine. And the rehab aspect was not drugs in kids. It was like if they had a bad accident, I was taking care of them. Or if they were on the news, I was taking care of them. And why I explain that is one, I ended up in a career I absolutely hated and I didn't know how to get out of. Okay. And I remember thinking the first day I walked on the pediatric floor, this is when life will change. And that would be the spot it changed. But I thought, "Oh, kids is what I want to work with. They bring me joy." And I loved it, but I still was burning out. And I remember thinking too, like I'm making 200 extra dollars a month to have fun with. And was told this career would keep me safe. And I had a girlfriend, I had a car, I had all my money and 200 extra bucks, and I had nothing in life. I felt dead. I felt flat. I felt invisible. I was starting to get depressed. And then I was like, you know what? Let's just go up one more level. And I applied to graduate school to become a nurse practitioner. And I was like, this is it. Autonomy, medicine, like control, and all these negative emotions that I thought I wanted. And I got halfway through school. And then I realized this sucks too. I was in a doctor's office with big pharma buying us lunch every day and entertaining them so they could write fake, give us samples and medicine, which they teach us in school not to do, which is really weird that that was even happening. I never brought a lunch to a graduate school, clinical, and these pharma companies always bought me lunch. And I'm like, wow, the world's nothing like they say it is. So then, and at this time too, and I share all this because it'll make sense when I land it, but so I'm there and I'm like, I'm writing prescription, or I'm spending more time telling people that they have a virus and the medication that they want will not work. It's a virus. You need to drink water, you need to take stuff to relax, and you need to take time off. And in 4 to 7 days, it'll be gone. The fourth day is typically the peak. And then after that, if it's worse, come back. You have a bacterial infection, we'll give you antibiotics. But otherwise, no antibiotics. And I was tired of fighting with patients that they didn't need antibiotics. And I'm like, what's wrong with these people? But they were showing me I was in a career that wasn't for me. And I knew I wanted to get out. But I'd invested 4 years in an undergrad, one in an accelerated, and was halfway done with my nurse practitioner degree. And I'm screaming on the inside, God, get me the hell out of this. How do I leave this? But I'm going to make my mom and my dad so mad. And I spent, what is that, 7 years total digging myself into this mess, which would pretty much accomplish to be 10 by the end of it all, right? And that was a 10-year cycle, which I want to drop that as a hint. Everything comes in 10-year cycles here on this earth. That's how I know success is right around the corner of this one. But, so then the worst thing happened and I didn't expect it. My dog dies. That was my childhood dog. And I was like, damn, I've never had an animal like that die. That hurt. Then my grandma got breast cancer. Damn, like grandma's going down. This hurts. And then grandpa got bladder cancer and ended up being the first to die. Well, the dog died, but then grandpa died. But my grandfather, he was my rock. We were on this, like, to this day, he was the smartest guy I've ever met because I was in his head and we could communicate. But the funniest thing was, anytime I talk about nursing, anytime I talk about being a pro golfer, he would never acknowledge it. And I found out most recently, he knew exactly what I was for, but he wasn't going to tell me. I had to figure it out for myself. And then he would be the greatest teacher because when he died, I slipped into a deep depression. I was around secondary trauma in the hospitals. Liver, kidney transplants in kids. Have you ever seen a family with that? It terrorizes it. Rehab medicine. These kids were walking, maybe a tree falls on them. Now they're in the hospital and everybody's blaming themselves. And I was absorbed. I'm endlessly around this and I'm absorbing and not knowing it. I had secondary trauma from hell. Plus, my grandfather just died. And I'm in graduate school working extra shifts just to simply make ends meet and have some money to spend so that I could live. And then it all came burning down. And it was literally like one day. And it was like after the endless sleeps, I started smoking weed because I was like, I need to sleep. I had to go to a doctor. I needed Adderall for focus. I'm like, I'm doing this stuff. I love it, but why can't I focus on it? And then the depression came in. And I'm like, oh, by the way, and I was on Vyvanse as well. I was on Vyvanse, Adderall, immediate release. And I'm like, you know what? I'm very anxious. I'm pretty depressed too. Can we get on Lexapro and try that out? So I was on the perfect cocktail for the destructive day of my life. So literally, and I'll jump ahead on this. And it's like, so I'm like wanting to get out of healthcare. And I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do, but I feel very called to get out. And I just started playing with entrepreneurship. I was like, this lights me up. This excites me. I just bought a camera. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this connects me back to when I was 16. And I was like, man, I won state fair. I thought a photographer only took school pictures, but you can travel the world and shoot pictures for brands? Like, at 27, I'm like, "This is awesome. This excites me. How do I do that?" Maybe if I work weekend option as a nurse, since I'm burning out, depressed, and burning in my own hell, maybe if I just work 2 days, I can have 5 days back. And I was like, that was the plan, and I signed that contract, and I'm like, "Yes, we solved it. We solved it." But then the most magical, terrorizing thing happened next. Joint Commission was in the house in my hospital. We were understaffed, and I showed up after having flu B. And I stayed up all night, and I'm taking extra Adderall. I'm drinking Red Bulls because I got a pediatric test, and I work in pediatrics. And I was like, this test is so hard because it's not very real compared to what the actual practice is, right? So I'm
Mm.
staying up. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm dehydrated. And I remember I smoked weed that night and had I had my first psychedelic, and I don't know what was laced in the weed, but I remember dying on my kitchen sink, and, like, it was my first ego death. It happened, and I was like and I remember closing my eyes, and I had more stuff in my head than I've ever seen on ayahuasca and ketamine. Like, it absolutely like, I will never forget that moment, and I remember going back to my bed and laying down thinking like, "I'm dying. I'm dead. I'm dead. This is it. God, please take me," and I was like, "God, please take me. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I'm leaving this shitty life." Well, turns out I woke up in the morning and I was like, "Damn, we're still here." And then I went to work. And then going to work, I broke my pattern and I didn't know I did. I forgot. So I took my Vyvanse and I took my Adderall, but I forgot to take my Lexapro. And then I got a coffee at work and I'm going up to the floor and they're like, "Oh no, Joint Commission's in the house and we're short staffed. There's no helping staff." And I get two of the heaviest patients on the floor. And I'm like, "We got this. Drink more coffee, put your head down and work." And then the weirdest thing started happening. I felt off and it was the Lexapro withdrawal. And I noticed previously too, and this is relates to the story, is like when I didn't take it, I'd get really mean. I would get really mean and aggressive, but it was just like a short because I was living on cloud 10. It was fake happiness. It's like, you're happy, you're on Lexapro. And it literally created the greatest destruction day that I'm happy to share this story about to shift anybody who's in a career that they're not supposed to be because they're like, so my day's burning. I'm literally like, this guy's got his stomach open. He's got a trach in his neck. He's got a central line. He's got RSV and he's throwing up all over his dressings time and time again. And I am continually having to change these dressings. By the way, my manager's like, "Hey, Joint Commission's in the house. They want to watch you do trach care." And I'm like, I can't. Like, I am so busy. He keeps throwing up. I keep having to change the dressing. By the way, the other kid's a kidney transplant. And I endlessly have to give them medicine on time in a specific window to make sure that their bodies don't reject their transplants. By the way, you got the kid who can't stop throwing up on himself and he's going to go septic in an hour. By the way, the other patient's a sidekick and he keeps saying 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And I'm like, God, something's going to happen at 1 o'clock. I can feel it. And at this time, too, the spiritual awakening happened on the floor with Joint Commission in the house. But I'm continually like, guys, I need help. I need help. Nobody would help me. I literally wish I could see the call log. I swear I called probably 12 times in 30 minutes asking for help. Nobody came to save me, which I'm grateful for. But then these kind of like, I want to say like visions and delusions is comparable to being on like ayahuasca or a plant medicine and opening your eyes, but being on a nursing floor. I could see through the illusions. I had a patient that was showing me my gifts. He's like, "Put the pieces together, drop the ball." Like it was so magical. The other psychic was telling me like, "At 1 o'clock, you're coming off the floor." And I kept thinking, God, I can't wait for 1 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock, there goes my boss. She shows up. And I'm like, thank God she's finally here to help me. But I already solved all the problems, you know? And then she goes, "Chris, we're going to pull you off the floor. You've been acting out of character. And you've been aggressive towards the staff." And I was like, aggressive? I'm doing exactly what they taught me in nursing school. I'm defending my patient with my license on the line because I know exactly what they need. And I've been asking for help all morning to the point, and I even said this to her, I haven't sat down yet. It's 1 o'clock. My gums are sticking to my lips. I haven't drinking water all day. I haven't eaten a damn snack. And they want to drug test me because they think I'm high. And I don't know one person who's high for weed because they're like, "Oh, my eyes were red." And funny enough, if you look at my Instagram story today, it was the same, but that's from severe dehydration. And it was like I was so dehydrated and I hadn't eaten or drinking anything. I was hypoglycemic. My hands were sweating and cold. My heart was palpitating, but I was doing everything for the people that I was supposed to take care of. And they want to tell me, "Chris, we're going to put you in the office for a drug test." The story gets worse. I sit in her office for 2 hours. I can't eat, I can't drink. And they're like, "Chris, are you going to tell us what's wrong?" Like, you're high at work. We know it. And I'm like, I am not high. I am not high. And I knew I fucked up. I literally did. And I was ready to be honest when the time was right, but they couldn't even see me. They couldn't hear me. So then later, my manager comes back. Do you want to apologize to the doctor? And I was like, I don't want to apologize, but I'll have a conversation with him. Completely alert, oriented, and conversing. And I told that doctor exactly what I kept telling him. And then he was yelling at me, and I'm like, God, they don't get it. So then they finally take me down for my drug test with no food or no water. They wouldn't let me eat. They were keeping me in a cage in the manager's office. And I'll say this at Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City. I think that's important because they're chasing magnet status, but this scenario happened. So then I go down to occupational health, and I'm like, maybe these people will help me. We're all nurses here. I'm telling them I'm hypoglycemic and dehydrated, and it keeps happening. Everybody's like, nah, he's trying. So occupational health, Chris, no, that's what happens when you're nervous. We think you're trying to dodge a drug test. And I'm like, I will happily pee in a cup in front of you. And I remember I had a protein shake that was a mass gainer. I was trying to gain weight then. And I'm like, can I please just drink this? It has protein. It has, what do you call it? The corn that's ground up, that's in everything is a filler. It makes your blood sugar go up quickly. And I remember like, I want to drink this. And they're like, yes, you can actually have 40 ounces of water. So it went from 0 to 40. And I'm like, all right, is a protein shake all right? Is this going to actually dehydrate me? And I'm in grad school in toxicology. And I'm like, guys, there's no amount of fluid I can drink because I need to pee. And they're like, yes, drink that so you can pee. I couldn't pee. I was so dehydrated. And I'm like, guys, my hands are cold and I'm getting like, my hands are wet and cold and I'm shaking and I'm getting palpitations. I'm like, my heart's about to jump out of my chest. I think I'm hypoglycemic. Can we please do a blood test? No blood test. We can't do that in a hospital. You have to have this, you got to be a patient here. And I'm like, it's a hospital and we can't check my blood sugar. I'm an employee here who is showing hypoglycemic symptoms and we're all nurses. No, you have to go to the ER. And I'm like, fuck it. Take me to the ER. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste their resources, but take me to the ER. I know I'm going to die here. And at that point, I text my mom. And when she works in the same hospital, I'm like, Mom, I need help. Like, I'm telling them I fucked up. And I text my mom, I fucked up. I smoked weed, but they're trying to kill me. And I'm asking for everything. And they're giving me nothing. I get on the bed. They wheel me down as slow as they can to the ER. And they're bumping into everything, trying to piss me off. They put me on the table, put a heart monitor on. I saw everybody's jaw in the room drop. And they're like, oh, shit. IV goes in. That's where I kind of black out. And like, that was the moment I knew my life changed forever. So endlessly, my manager actually came down and my heart rate shoots up when she walks in the room. And I was like, that's how mad and angry I am at her. And my mom was even like, you need to get out now. And I will forever be grateful to my mom for that moment. And it was not even that moment specifically, but for showing up for me that day. Like it created a really deep bond. So then I go across the street to the hospital. They transfer me to the adult one because after 3 bags of fluid, I still haven't peed. Huh, maybe I was telling the truth the whole time. So I end up at the hospital across the street where I used to work. The nurse is my friend. And I remember thinking, God, I wonder if she can pee in the cup for me. But the funniest thing is, I knew she couldn't pee clean either. And that's why she was my nurse. And I'm this wide awake. And I just had a spiritual awakening. And I feel like I'm schizophrenic. I feel like I'm Carl Jung in the Red Book, how he describes it. It's like a crazy experience. So then it comes to the time I got to pee and I'm like, hey, can I have that cup? And I literally pissed my life away and I felt it and I loved every second of it. So then go home, mom told her everything, was like, hey, she even treated me to dinner. What a mom. And then ended up the next day I self-reported and then they still treated me like a criminal because they knew they fucked up. They knew I told the truth the whole time, but they endlessly were trying to, pin me. So I took some FMLA, then ended up like, and I even got a lawyer because I was like, this is getting out of hand. Like they are literally twisting and manipulating everything. So then ended up coming back to work and I have a meeting. I self-reported and then my boss endlessly tried to like manipulate it in a way that made me look like an absolute druggie. And then I show up for a meeting with HR and my boss and it's supposed to be, we're in this room together. We're talking with one another. Well, why are 3 of you guys on that side and I'm over here? And I even said that. I was like, this isn't a conversation. You guys are against me and I'm sharing everything. No, Chris, you're a druggie. And I'm like, no, I'm not a druggie. I smoke weed at nights just to help me relax and fall asleep so I can show up here and be alert and ready to go. And by the way, the Super Bowl is the night before. And my boss, I remember her telling me earlier that day, man, I drank so much wine last night. And even the policy states no alcohol or drugs 24 hours before showing up for a shift, which I found out that day. So my boss is also exactly what she's mirroring to me, but she can't see it. But I can, and I keep calling it out. And I started asking questions to them that they were asking me because I'm like, maybe I'll ask it back. What did you do last night? It's not about me. It's about you. I know it's about me, but what did you drink last night? I'm curious. I told you. Why don't you tell me? And then it got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to resign for unsafe work environment and inability to adapt to your employees' needs. And I was like, if I'm leaving on my terms because they tried to make me sign an affidavit saying that I was high at work. And I remember saying this. I was like, if I was high at work, I would have been in the snack room eating the crap out of all the Gatorades and the Rice Krispie treats. I wouldn't have been running around asking for help, pissing off doctors. I probably would have made them laugh. But it was that whole scenario burned down everything. And I share this story with you because I self-medicated. I didn't know how to process my traumas and my wounds. I had zero emotional intellect or knowledge. I had no skills of healing, of resting, of emotionally shifting. I didn't know how much secondary trauma I absorbed. I had no idea why I was even in that hospital. I hated it. I grew up with epilepsy, but I needed to heal that part of me, I guess. And it was this day that was like, oh, I'm walking out of work. It's like the saddest day in most people's lives. I knew that was the day my life began. And I was so excited to walk out of there. I walked out of there and I waved to my floor and I was like, I'll see you guys later. I'm out. And my parents were scared. My dad was the most scared. My mom, she was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm turning in my nursing license and I am never going to work as a nurse again. And I would end up going to a camp and something after that to get some money, and it connected me to my creativity. But it was literally when I tell people this story, they're like, "Oh my God, how awful!" And I'm like, "No, that was the greatest day in my life, and I failed a piss test, but I also passed the test of life, and I'm here today to share this story." And that was literally the moment this life began, and everything that's happening now is because I was honest. I spoke up for myself. And even in the face of the mirrors that I couldn't even see myself, they couldn't see themselves and they couldn't hear me. They couldn't see me. And that's the greatest gift that I carry now. Is if somebody can't hear me or see me, my body turns into a reflector and they have to see themselves. So I know my boss was just seeing herself. She smokes weed. She got high. Everybody in that room did, but they were pinning it on me. And to
Mm,
that is the greatest gift I also carry now. If somebody doesn't see me, they have to see themselves. And I never take it personal now. Now I'm like, I know exactly how you look at yourself.
brother, really, really beautiful share and show of
Thank you.
vulnerability. You're so strong, Chris. So
Thank you.
strong. And I hope whoever's listening can take away, I believe, one of the most important messages in that story is don't ever abandon your needs, for
Hmm.
someone else. Growing up as people pleasers and perfectionists and with PhDs in overgiving and overpromising and over delivering and all of these things, I can fully appreciate how hard that must have been for you, not just like dealing with the secondary trauma and the unsafe work environment, and the addiction, but also being able for you to communicate your needs and break that pattern of just faltering and giving in to someone in authority. Like that takes so much courage. So much courage. And yeah, I know that there must be at least one person who is listening who may have found themselves or maybe currently is in a workplace or an environment or relationship where upon reflection, asking themselves, will I sacrificing my needs here? And is this serving me? Can I actually be with this experience and with this environment and with this situation and relationship without abandoning myself? I mean, I think that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn and apply in my journey. And I think like it's in some ways tied to the other theme that I wanted to explore with you, because we've gone on this journey around like the unhealed father wound and taking on all of this responsibility and burden and grinding and hustling and then using substances to try and cope with these unhealed, unprocessed traumas. And I think for a moment in time, I swung really far in the other direction into the spiritual love and light, philosophy and became intimate with what the toxic feminine looks like in addition to the toxic masculine. And like all things, and to take inspiration from Buddhism, the middle way is the way. And I wanted to hear from you, what that's looked like, and perhaps like how you have been able to strike that balance in life, because I know you have a spiritual connection and you have what is the toxic feminine as well. And perhaps because you spoke about Carl Jung as well, I want to make it clear this isn't gender specific. These are related to the energies that exist within each of us. So yeah, can you perhaps define what that is and what that's looked like for you?
Yeah, so it's funny when that journey ended, the toxic masculine, that was kind of like the end of the toxic masculine, the hard work, the burnout, the grinding, the like endlessly like whatever I need in my body to make it work, let's do it. And then it put me into what would become the toxic feminine. And I think the toxic feminine gets introduced through, I would say, healing and spirituality, because that started my healing path. That 100% was like, boop. And I was like, wow, we're on the healing path. I don't even know what this is. I met a psychic and then started getting into energy work, and I started to like get curious about my gifts and my talents, but also I'd burned out so hard that all I wanted to do was rest, relax. I wanted no schedule, no structure, nothing. I wanted nobody to tell me what to do. I was working for myself, and I was like, we got it. We're working for ourselves. We're smart. We can do anything. All it takes is a little bit of hard work and we'll do it. Well, I didn't have any energy left and I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. So I'm like, well, everything in life always has happened for me. Maybe if I just have an idea, which I downloaded a business plan before all that happened, and I was like, "We got it." I've never taken a business class, but somehow I just wrote one out on paper and it makes sense. Dude, it endlessly led me down the spiritual path that would somehow go from like energy work to sitting in plant medicine circles, and that's where it got real toxic. Like, here's this stuff. It's going to show you anything and everything, but if you don't act on it and integrate it, you're going to keep coming back for more. And I found out right away, it only took a few plant medicine circles, but it was like I got into that and I felt it getting toxic. And I didn't even know what toxic meant at that point. I was like, man, the first one I went to was like beautiful. Like I saw everything and I found some spiritual gifts and connected more with my intuition. I was, I want to go back. When's the next one? And then I went back and I got some other downloads, not as good. And then I went back again. I was like, I want to go back again. This is awesome. And then I'm like, I'm noticing that if I go back more and I don't apply what I learned, my life gets really chaotic. And this lack of structure at this point, I'm like, man, I don't like structure, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to have a calendar. I don't know how to have a task list, which I live religiously by now. But I was like, I work for myself. Entrepreneurs do this. Like, I wake up whenever I want to. I eat whenever I want to. I don't need structure. Structure burned down my past life. I want everything but structure. And then it would endlessly lead to the most toxic part of my life of being what I call a drifter, of being somebody who does plant medicine and doesn't integrate. Like you're playing around in the spiritual field, like that's slapping God in the face and saying, thank you for giving me access to everything. I'm going to do nothing with it, which God doesn't take too nice. He's like, here's some more problems. Here's some more problems. And my spirit guides are too like, here's some more. Hell yeah, you don't want structure? And they send it to you and they send it to you until you amplify it to the degree that you're like, this sucks. I got to stop now. And that's a very simple snapshot without giving details of all this stuff, but it was to that point that essentially, like, I had no structure, I had no purpose, I had no clarity, I had no mission, I had no schedule, I had nothing, and I felt just as numb as all the stuff that I'd been doing to create worth, but now I'm sitting in this container where I'm like, "There's no worth if I do nothing, and if I do something to the extreme degree of both sides, nothing's happening." And by the way, every girl that I tried to date, I subconsciously wanted her to take care of me. I wanted her to be my mommy. I was like, "Oh, there's a single mom. Maybe she'll take care of me too." The amount of single moms I attracted, like, gosh, I really wanted a mom because even at this point, my parents had been divorced and my mom started to hang out with a boyfriend and she forgot all about me and I felt abandoned and I didn't even know what abandoned was, but I was like, why does mom think that guy's more important? And yes, he's cool. He's a really cool. He's actually cooler than my dad at this at that point in life, not now, but I was literally like, he's cool, he's awesome, but mom thinks he's cool. So yeah, maybe I got to get a partner. And that led me to attachment wounds in relationships. It also amplified my addictions because now I'm in an attachment wound where I'm the anxious, she's the avoidant. And I'm like, she says she loves me. She shows up for me sometimes, but like, why doesn't she text me back? Like, why do I feel anxious? Like, what is this? What is this feeling? And then I suppressed it with drugs. There we go, self medicating again. There's the feminine and the toxicity of it all. Oh, let's just smoke some weed so we don't have to think about how anxious I am and why she won't text me back and what she could possibly be doing. Oh yeah, there's my roommate. Yeah, let's go hit the bar. Let's have more drinks. Let's just pour some freaking alcohol on this fire. That really makes the fire burn bigger. Let's amplify it. And then it's like next thing you know, there's cocaine. All right, let's go. This is fun. This makes me feel really good. But man, I burned some shit down on it. Oh, whoops! Don't drink with it. You're gonna black out. You're not gonna remember a damn thing. You're gonna wake up in the morning, your phone's cracked. You have no idea how it's cracked till you get on Snapchat and you see like, oh man, I'm glad we made it home. And it's like the toxic feminine endlessly destroyed my life. Yes, it looked like paradise to anybody who watched it then. I was drowning. I didn't even know what I need, but I had all these spiritual gifts coming online and my intuitions freaking murdering me. And I don't even know what that voice was. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And the more I sat in the toxic feminine, the louder that voice got. I thought it was my ego, but it's my intuition just pull like, Chris, get out of it. Chris, get out of it. Why am I trying to get out of this life? This is how entrepreneurs live. This is
Mm,
entrepreneurship. This is this is exactly what it is. It's drugs, it's partying, it's no schedule, it's drifting, it's going anywhere, anytime, not having a plan for tomorrow, today. We're just living in the moment, you know?
mm.
Oh, and there's another toxic girl. She's got 2 kids now. Oh, now we got 2 kids. Now I really want a mom. And that was just the cycle on repeat. And it took me going through it once and I was like, this is almost the polar opposite of what I just came out of. Now it's time to figure out how we balance it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the definition around it. It is like healing without integration and application, and whether it is in a plant medicine ceremony or somatic healing session or a chat with your psychologist or journaling. If you're not allowing yourself to fully feel emotions of anger, grief, sadness, if you're not allowing yourself to cry, to feel, to unlock the wisdom of like what you shared around your father's wound and seeing him for the superhero that he is now, and then showing up like that, if you're not then taking action in alignment with these lessons that you've learned, then it's pointless and you're continuing to reinforce an old identity that
Yeah.
drove you into healing into the first place. So I think I appreciate your vulnerability, man, because
Yeah.
I know the toxic masculine is talked about. I haven't heard much about the toxic feminine, and so I'm glad that we're making a space for this. And I believe that when those characteristics are balanced, the healthy masculine looks like structure, like you said you
Mhm.
were missing
Oh, and
in
I
the
love it.
day, routine,
Mhm.
consistency, protection, and a healthy feminine looks like tuning into your intuition, your creativity, being able to surrender and knowing when to surrender. What does that look like for you now that you can see those energies a bit more balanced in your life and work and relationships?
I say that the most important too to add to that list of the feminine is if you can't rest and relax, your feminine is not balanced. It's very toxic because being able to relax and recharge in the feminine is the most important. That is how you manifest everything. And as somebody like I am in astrology, I love to use this as a tool, is I'm a perfect balance of masculine and feminine right down the middle. And now I live a life that is balanced masculine and feminine. And it is exactly like you described. I don't set an alarm because I know I'll wake up when it's time. But my day starts when I wake up. The first 2 hours, that's for me. That's a walk, that's a coffee, maybe some lion's mane, maybe a meditation, maybe some breath work. It all depends on the weather and how I feel. And it's checking in with myself. Some mornings I wake up and I'm like, let's get to work. I got some energy. I'm excited. I'm curious. What are we doing today? And then other days I'm like, man, we live pretty close to the sun. And I make that commitment with myself now. If I work past, like, I tend to work like 6 hours a day on average. I would say if actually like work, the other stuff's like really fun, right? But some days I catch a flow state and I love being in flow states. But when I catch some and I'm sitting down on a project that's big, I pause and I have a conversation with myself. Now I'm like, hey, I know you're loving this and I know you're in a flow state and you can work as long as you want today till we stop. But you have to double your rest time tomorrow. And it's
Mm.
non-negotiable because I know I'll burn out. But I have that conversation with myself. And if I can't say yes and honor it, then I'm like, cool, we're closing it. We'll pick it up tomorrow. But some days there are days that I'm just in a flow state and I'm grooving it and I know it's the alignments of everything and I'm like we're in. We're going to keep going. And then I look at the next day like we're just going to rest, we're going to relax, and we're going to do everything we love today. We're going to treat ourselves to a holiday, which all entrepreneurs suck at, but that's my favorite power now is I play as hard as I work. But even to go through the whole daily schedule, because it's really powerful how this works, is it's very modular. I also play around with it. But I tend to work alone from the 4 hours after my 2 hour break. So it's typically from I'd say about 10 I'd say about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 8 to noon is pretty much my deep solo work. I don't work around anybody or anything because I'm focused and I am locked in. Then noon hits and I'm like, we need to reset. So we go to the gym. Or if we don't have the energy for it, we go for a walk. And Austin, Texas, there's Barton Springs, there's a cool swimming pool. There's so much to do here. It's just like, what do I want to do to reset? Because the middle of my day is my time to reconnect back to myself, to ground and to also take stillness. It just depends what I need, and every day it's different. But I endlessly check in with myself. I'm like, What do we need? And if it's ice cream, I go buy ice cream. Today, it was going to the grocery store. And no matter how famous I am and how much money I have, I will always go get my own groceries. I love it. It disconnects me from the craziness of entrepreneurship and it makes me feel normal. And I'm like, people hate this stuff, but I love it and I honor it. And I go as much as I can. I don't buy all my groceries for the week because I go multiple times a week. It's something I
Mhm.
love. And then after that, it's like, all right, now it's about 1 o'clock. So from 1 to 3 is a really modular part of my schedule. It's either get stuff done that you didn't get done in the morning, or it's also like, man, that workout kind of kicked my butt. Let's take a little break. Because no matter what, most of the time from 3 to 5, all I do is calls. And that's why this is such placed in a good time for me. Because I am chatty as all heck from 3 to 5, 3 to 7, 3 to 8. So I use that time to book calls. And if I don't have calls, I do social media content. But I use my day and my schedule based on me. And I got to
Mm.
this schedule by simply observing it. And I got this from Zach Kravitz. We did it for a week and it drove me insane. And I saw it instantly how much it helped because it was just this simple system of like, watch what you do. You're already naturally doing what you're supposed to do. So I tracked my schedule on this Toggle app and was like, man, it takes me 2 hours to wake up. By the way, I sleep about 7 to 8 hours. So now when I go to bed at night, I do the math, right? But it's
Mm.
like, all right, so 2 hours to wake up. Man, those next 4 hours, I am locked in. It's a really good time to work alone. By the way, people won't answer my calls. Great. What a good sign. And then, oh man, I just kind of get tired of work and I need to reset. Man, this is such a great time to work out or eat some lunch or like kind of take a
Mm.
break. And then, man, everybody always wants to book calls with me from 3 to 5 p.m. or that's when I feel the most creative and I feel I'm talking heads. And then it's like, oh, work day's done. Great. Time for dinner. The rest of my evening is for me and nobody has access to it. But it's more collaborative than the morning because now it's like a reset. It's like the morning's no different than the night. The night's no different than the morning. But that's my time for me again. And even in my darkest of days, that's when I would get high. That's when I'd drink 3 tall boys of
Mm.
PBR and be like, man, this feels good. And it was a moment in my life I'll never forget, but I also didn't create it. I knew it was something that I had to live through. And I had fun with it. That's what I'd also say through this whole
Just
process.
on that, Chris, I do want to double click on that because I think this will be really powerful. That version of you, who would get home and then get high to check out. What would you say to him right now if he
What
was
I
on
said,
this episode with us?
I would say he did exactly what he was supposed to, and that's what I was getting to. It's like there's these times that we can't explain what we do and why we do it. And that's exactly what it was. It's like I've never had a drinking where I was just like, man, I just want to sit at home and drink. But what it was I think it was like the deepest initiation of healing because even though I knew it was wrong, I knew it was like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I wasn't an alcoholic. I've never been addicted to weed and I can kick both any day. But no matter what I was doing, this obsessive thought just wound. And I remember, and that's what I was getting at is like when you're going through hell, you have two options. You can play with it, you can smile, you can make friends, and you can do whatever's in front of you and get through it, or you can suffer in it and be like, this sucks. I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, I'm burning. Oh, like, oh, everybody hates me. Like all these things. And it's like, I knew it wasn't something that I created. So once again, I fully surrendered to it. I'm like, if I'm going to endlessly think about drinking and smoking weed, well, fuck it. Let's just do it every night. But I did it to a degree that I knew every morning I woke up the next morning, I wouldn't want to do it again. So I'm like, screw it. Let's throw back 3 tall boys. No, wait, let's do 4. Throw some weed on top of it. Wake up so hungover. Oh, dude, I feel terrible. But I was doing it on purpose and I was conscious of what I was doing. And it wasn't to self sabotage or hurt myself. I was like, there's one way to get out of this cycle sooner, and it's to pour the fire. It's like when you face the fear, the thing that you want to avoid. And I was like, I'm not avoiding shit anymore. If this is appearing, I'm going to go through this cycle and I'm also going to do everything during the day to repair it. But it got to the point, and this is where I know it's like a very detached perspective of it. But I was like, whatever this is, I got to show that I'm not afraid of it and I'm willing to lean into it and go through it because this
Mm.
story will be impactful to somebody one day. This story will shift somebody who's going through this because at that time, too, we talk about this all the time. I was actually watching a Freya video, Freya Ray on YouTube. She's awesome. And she actually explained this same scenario in a video one day. And I was actually here in Austin and I was like, I have to reshare this too. Because until I heard that, I was leaning into it and I was like, I know exactly what like, this isn't me, but I'm embodying it and I have to get through it. Freya
Mhm.
said the same exact thing. She's like, I'm not a drinker. But one day, like this time in my life, drinking was the thing and it happened. And then she said she ended up moving somewhere else and then it stopped. and I was in Austin, and this pattern was still there, but it wasn't as extreme. And I'm like, man, I thought moving to Austin would solve everything. And I was starting to connect with brothers, find friends, like really dive in. But I swear to God, it was Neptune passing over. I'm a Pisces sun and moon. Neptune's the ruler, but it's also all about addiction. So is Pisces. And it's
Mm,
like the planet that amplifies it was sitting at 29 degrees. And I was literally like, man, I bet when that thing moves, I bet it stops. 2 weeks ago, I meet this guy, Oscar. Well, I met Oscar, but Oscar, we go out to get some chicken after hanging out, having a weekender day. It was so much fun. We go to this badass spot, and then he's like, "You want to get chicken?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's get chicken." And he goes, "By the way, I don't drink." And I'm like, "I kind of want a beer." And this is when it stopped, or what started to stop, because I'm like, I had a beer, I honored what I wanted, but then I was looking across the table at Oscar, and I was like, "What a good friend showing up in my life to remind me now it's time to stop drinking." And
mm,
that was the moment, and I caught that clue too. And I was like, and I didn't say it to him, but I said it in my head, "This is my last beer I'm gonna have for a long time." And then we go out with Oscar's friends a couple nights later. I saw the pattern again, and his friends are sitting at the table, and I'm like, "Man, I want a Guinness." We're watching the Eagles play Monday night in Austin in an Eagles bar. Everybody's drunk, and I'm like, "Well, I gotta join in." And then I look at the table, I had a hunch, and I go, "Hey, you guys want a pitcher of beer? I'll buy." And they go, "Oh, no, 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 we don't drink. We're drinking non-alcoholic IPAs. You should try one." And I was like, "All right, I'm game." And that was the moment I shifted out of it, because the signs came to me. If I would have forced it, I think I would have been in it longer. But it was like Oscar showed up as the first omen, and I was ready to see somebody like that show up in my life. I was looking for that person. I might have asked for it finally too. But then Freya's story, Oscar showing up and then invited me
mm,
to a table with his friends. I was like, I'm not going to be the one who drinks at this table, and this is something I'm looking to give up. These are
mm,
now my friends, and they just pulled me all the way out of the pattern that's been destroying me or keeping me that last moment from success.
mhm.
'Cause I didn't share this earlier. Last year I sat with ayahuasca, and I remember chilling on the plane, because when I didn't have any vices for 2 weeks, I was really intuitive. And I remember thinking like Scorpio and Pluto popped in my head, and I'm like, I gotta look this up. I got into the 10th house. And it's like you have no power with this placement if addictions rule your world. And I'm
Mm,
like, wait, how does that work? And then instantly I learned I'd been using force my whole life. And
mm,
then that was the moment. That was in January or October 3rd, 2024 was around the date of that. But I carried all that over to this moment. And I was like, oh, yeah, I feel like this wave of abundance is coming in. All the signs in reality are looking good. But man, my intuition keeps saying, you got to stop drinking. And I was like, and it was never an addiction, but it's like it became a pattern, it became a habit. And then I'm like,
mm.
why am I still drinking? And it was sitting across the table from me. I was looking for connection and friends. And though I had these people, I was still the new guy. And
Yeah.
everybody in this room of entrepreneurs has been burned. So they're keeping me at distance, not to be like, oh, we don't know about you. They were literally like, we got to see how this guy acts over time instead of jumping in and being like, welcome to our house. Come on in. Burn the place
Mm.
down when we're gone. But it was that moment that I was like, I'm drinking because I don't have friends, but I have friends in front of me who aren't drinking. Maybe this is the moment I can alchemize it and say, I'm going to put that drink away and create a new table of friends. And though I haven't seen those people since, I'm connected to Oscar. And I know those people are very important in my life because they're all in marketing. And that night, I was like, man, I got a hunch of how they can help me.
That's beautiful.
And I didn't force it, and I wasn't like, "You guys need to join this thing." I was like, "What do you guys do for work?" You know? Not having a drink created the strongest connection that I know will make me and them a ton of money in the near future. But it was
Mm,
that test, but it was also noticing the omen, and also, like you said, I fully surrendered to it. I'm like, "I don't wanna drink and smoke weed. Shit, I don't even
mm.
have the money for this," but I knew it was an important part that would reconnect me to something super important.
Yeah, what I'm hearing as well is like you're operating more in alignment as well, man, on account of this journey that you've been on, and whether it is checking in with yourself and asking yourself whether you need an ice cream or breath work or a hang with friends or to do deep work, for 3, 4,
Mm.
5 hours or however long. That the way you're operating now and the people around you, it's such a beautiful testament of your connection to yourself, which is really really cool.
Yeah,
And I
thank
actually
you.
wanted to like start bringing it in for a landing as part of this, podcast series and show. I'm really curious to hear your response to this question, which is, yeah, in light of everything we've spoken about and your journey with healing and entrepreneurship and self improvement and addiction and all the things. What does being liberated mean to you?
Oh man, I was hoping you'd ask this. What does being liberated do? Everything I do now is non-negotiable. I have my intuition and I'm so connected to it. for the first time in my life, I actually don't have thoughts in my head. I feel present. I feel love. I feel generosity. I feel gratitude in every moment. And that is because no matter what emotions people in the room feel, I have a zero tolerance for doing anything but listening to my intuition. Like all I do is listen to it to the point, and I'll share this story. This will really anchor it in. Now I know I trigger people when I step into my power and being in my power. And even though it's a funny thing, I'm a projector, I'm a mental projector. Last night, for instance, is a perfect thing. And I know it happened last night for this moment was to a point of being like, I don't care what anybody says, I'm doing what I'm doing. An event 2 weeks ago, I told them I would go. I knew it was one of my business partners. And I was like, dude, I'm exhausted. I'm dead. If I go to this event, I'm going to burn out. And I literally had to bite the bullet. This is when the connection started. And I'm like, an hour before the event, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. Not only am I going to spend money, but I'm going to absorb nothing and everybody's going to be miserable around me. I'm not coming. Sorry. And it's just that thing of like, sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm doing
Mm,
exactly what I need to do. Last night at an event, a guy who was hosting it was like, Chris, I want you to share a testimonial. And I talked for 10 minutes. It was that powerful of a testimonial. And I knew I'd shift everybody in the room. And I didn't care what he was saying. I was going to talk as long as I needed to. Come to find out, he's telling me this. And I'm like, oh, bring my voice down. No, he was saying land the plane. And I just kept going. But I brought my voice down. I was like, oh, I'll quiet down a little bit. I just kept going and going and going. And then I see him again and I'm in a channel. Like I'm like, this is God's work. This isn't about you. But he's like, and I'm like, don't control me. God's telling me to share this because it's everything that you've been asking me for. And it was like the old me would have been like, wait, you want me to speak, but you don't want me to speak, but you want me to speak, but
mm,
you want to control it? And it's like nobody can control me. The people who try to control me, I trigger the shit out of now. And I love it because I know I'm healing them quicker than they can heal themselves. And it's not about me talking too much or not enough or too loud or anything. It's that they're trying to control me, and I'm the most uncontrollable person on this earth because I'm so plugged into my intuition. I'm so plugged into all my gifts and all my talents because no matter what the scenario is, no matter what life throws at me, I endlessly follow my authority. And as a projector, that's curiosity, it's excitement, which brings me effortless success. And my mantra now is the less I do, the more I make. And
mm,
that is the truest statement. It's like I don't have to do anything by sitting on this podcast and sharing this story and being vulnerable. I'm healing people and I'm not even trying to, but I know my story and the mission and the path I walk. And I share it so vulnerably is to create healing because I sat in a container with David and I had him on this collective for Weekender Collective. He led with vulnerability and shifted the entire room. And I was like, that's the most magical thing in the world. And that's become the mission is like, how can I become the most successful person on this planet and endlessly lead with vulnerability and love and generosity? It doesn't matter how much money I have. I'm so disconnected from money because it's just like, dude, if when I lead with generosity and vulnerability and love, like not only do I shift these people instantly and I
mm,
love the feeling, but when I love that feeling and I feel that feeling, more money comes in, more than I could ever wish for. But then that money is used to build teams and create impact in the world. And I'm able to be here in this moment and share this story from this perspective of going through hell. I literally was skipping through hell with my friends. David was one of them. I found him and I was like, we're in hell together. Let's have fun while we're here. It's like the whole smoking and drinking. Like I was still in hell, but I was like, while we're here, let's have
yeah.
some fun. Let's pour some more gas on the fire. But it's literally those moments, as we said at the beginning, that make life so hard and the victimization of it all. But
Mm,
nobody's going to come and save you. You have to save yourself. So when you're ready to save yourself, you make a choice to start saving yourself. People show up, things start happening. The more you say yes to what's for you, the more better stuff that happens. And with that, like the simplicity is you have 24 hours and you have three simple choices: what energizes you, what is neutral, and what drains you. And if you can break down your day into those three things, and that's why I say this for the end, is this is the most powerful. People who made it this far will get the sauce. Those who clicked off missed this. But no matter what, that's what guides me. Does this feel good? Yes, I do it. And I add it to my day. And that's what my daily schedule is stuff that
mm,
feels good, stacked one after another. Because who doesn't want to do it energizing them every day? Because it gives you more energy, more power, more success. Oh my gosh, it's that simple. And if it's neutral, that's the one as like a founder, a CEO of companies is like, that's the one that it's like, well, I don't do it if I don't have to, but if I'm the team leader and nobody else can and we can't hire anybody, I'll do it. That's the last thing. Steve Jobs, pick three things, everything else is noise. And then
mm.
last, if it drains you, delegate it, hire somebody else, or stop doing it. That simple. It's not about hard work. It's not about resilience. It's not about being tough and grinding and hustling through. It's not about being lazy and relaxing all day and sipping margaritas on a beach in Mexico. All those are hell. What it is just doing what you love every day and building your day all 24 hours to do everything you love unapologetically, no matter
Yeah.
what life's throwing at you. Because when you lean into trust, overflow appears. And when overflow appears, abundance appears. And that's all we're here to do is learn that with ourselves. So honestly, break your day into 24 hours and just say, does this light me up? If it's a no, put it in the neutral. And if it's a negative, get it off your calendar or hire somebody else, because there's actually billions of people on this planet that
Yeah.
would love the work that you hate, and the work that they hate, you love. And that is collaboration. And that is the perfect balance of masculine and feminine, is knowing when to have structure, but also create flow, and also when to surrender and when to speak up. And if you
Mm.
can't do that for yourself, you can't do it for others. So if you're trying to lead, you got to work through yourself to help others, not help others through yourself.
So beautiful, man. So beautiful. And it brings up a quote that I saw, or maybe it was a meme, like what you've just shared with me. It's like when people who are full of love trigger the fuck out of people who are full of shit. And I, I've felt that as well. Like the more that I've healed and stepped into my power, it can be very polarizing. Very
Mhm.
polarizing. And I can see how, you speak to that and you've experienced that as well. And, it can feel really jarring when you really just care about making an impact. You really just care about spreading more love and helping people, heal their
Mhm.
shadow or to be able to step into their own power as well. What I see and what I hear and what I know about you, man, is that, you have so much love to give and you have so many gifts to share. And yeah, I'm really grateful that you shared all of that with us today. It really warms my heart, man.
Can I share one more? This lands the entire episode. Are you
Yeah,
open?
cool.
So last night when and this 100% pulls it all together, and I knew this didn't happen for a bad reason yesterday, and I love that it's a great teaching moment. So last night at this event, he says, "Go ahead and give a testimonial," and I'm straight channeling, like I said. But then in the room, like I knew I was pissed. At the end of it, I was like, "Yeah, I definitely pissed him off. I triggered the shit out of him." But then we took a break, and there's this girl there, and she had a like massive, like her channel was awesome. When she was channeling, she spoke so precise, and during the break, I go over and sit next to her and I'm like, hey, like, what do you do for work? And she goes, hold on a second. I need 2 minutes. And I instantly felt it was a power game because I had just shared this light and this love. And I'm like, she has her phone out and I'm like, I'm channeling. I can feel it. I'm very clairsentient. And I'm like, she's not even reading anything. She's playing a power game. So I sit there and I just am like very patient, very masculine. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I got all the time in the world. I know I'm not going to leave this planet until it's time. And I know time's not real. It just keeps us from dreaming all day where we're jumping like it's ayahuasca. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, we can speed this up a little bit. So I pull out my phone and I open it and I bet she drops her phone right when I pull mine out. And I did. And she goes, oh, hey, I'm ready for you now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, and I didn't make any move because I was like, this is a power game. This is how you completely disarm somebody in a power game. And I was like, she's like, what's up? And I was like, I was just so, and this is 100% true. I was like, I was just so fascinated with your channel. I was curious what you did for a career because like I could feel your channel and I could understand what you were about to say. And I just want to know like what you do for work. And she goes, actually, real quick, my mom is a projector, and I know you guys need invites, but like you talked forever. Like there's all these people in a room. We all want to talk. Like, why did you feel the need to talk for that long? And I know you're very plugged in, and this is so funny. I was like, well, your channel is probably telling you this, but time's not real. Do you think time's real? I don't think it is. I know it's just something I use as a linear construct. So what are you being so scarce about? Like, there's all the time in the world. And we actually have all the time now, and I'd rather use it to learn about you instead of have this conversation. And then she goes, "Isn't there another question you want to ask me?" And I was like, "No." And then it honestly was this push and pull relationship, right? But then I'm like, okay, like, so anyways, let's talk about work. So I kept asking her questions about herself and she didn't want to speak up about herself. And I was like, wait, you're getting mad at me for talking too much, but I'm asking you questions that are actually the ones that I'm thinking and I want to ask because I'm fascinated with your channel. But she couldn't talk about herself. She couldn't talk about herself. She couldn't talk about what she did. And I'm sitting over here like, I actually came over here because I'm so fascinated and I see your power and I'm so curious what you do. But then it turned out it was a mother wound. Her mother was a projector, and her mother from what she said, from what I got in the conversation, never let her talk. She always spoke over her. So now
Mm.
I'm the projector being projected upon because I'm a projector and I'm sharing this light and this love. And I got my invite and I'm just spilling all this stuff to this room because it is the most powerful transformation that led me here right now. And I'm like, look left, look right. Everybody in this room can help you, they can heal you. Not only that, if you offer them your gift, they're going to share their gift and you're going to see your whole world shift. That was the 10-minute speech. But it was that moment that I was like, oh, I'm actually, wow, I'm healing her right now. And I'm not even trying to because
Mm.
she wants to fight. And I'm just like, no, let's talk about you. I actually came over here to talk about you, but you're projecting your mother wound on me, which I discovered through the conversation. So now I'm going to lean even more into you. So, like, how do you use that somatic mindset? How do you use it in your own way? Like, oh, wait, you do jewelry? Tell me, like, what else can you make me? But the more I poured into her, I could almost feel it pissing her off. But I'm like, I literally am asking you all about you and I want you to talk about you. But it seems like you're projecting that I'm talking too much. But that means you want to talk, but you don't. I'm giving you the time and the space to talk and you're not talking. But it's like you said, it was that love, it was that light that triggered everybody in that room. But then it's also to go over there and naturally attract her just to talk to her and then instantly hear that she's projecting a wound on me and not going into the battle. But it was to me the truest test of being like, no, I'm here to talk about you. And even though you're playing power games, I can backdoor you around these power games so we can actually have a conversation. And
Thank you
I'd
for
say
sharing.
that's, like, the hardest thing is, like, being so aware that that used to
Mm.
fawn me, but now it's like, I don't use it against anyone, but it's like when I can feel it, I'm gonna lean in with more love. I'm gonna lean in with more light, and I was authentically curious, but it's like and curiosity endlessly is
Mm.
my superpower, but I
Yeah.
think that's a perfect landing of, like, how I could be like, "No, no, no, don't do that." It's like, "Oh, no, let's just lean more into you."
Yeah, man, I think like and that's something that can be really scary and confronting for people, but ultimately very liberating. And it was a good example and anecdote to share to really ground what we've discussed into into real life. So
Yep,
yeah, thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing your
yeah.
love and light with us today. And where can people connect with you, find out more about you, what you do, weekend photography, all the things?
Yeah, so my branding has shifted a little bit. So it's byCHRIS now across the board. So it's at BYCHRIS_ATX. And that's on every social platform. And if you're in Austin, hit me up. We'll hang out and we'll have some fun. Weekender Collective is the community we're starting. So I'm working with high level entrepreneurs to put them in the spotlight. It's these multifaceted creators who take care of everyone else because I'm taking care of them. I go through your funnel. I tell you everything about your business that is great and things that I'm like, maybe not. And I help you build the perfect business model, whether it be through courses or content of any sort. And then we split the profits on the backside because we're doing it together. Symbiotic relationships are my thing. But Weekender Collective is the community for the entrepreneurs who don't know they're entrepreneurs yet, who have all these gifts and all these talents that their parents suppressed, never saw, never honored, but they never stopped living them. So we're creating this community for those creatives to come in and we're going to work on all these wounds and all this stuff. But it's not spirituality or woo woo, it's simplicity. It's the lesson of the lessons that we have learned all throughout this path to get them gassed up, to get them out in the world and create impact. For people who want to create impact in this world, Weekender Collective is for you if you're not an entrepreneur yet, because it'll get you plugged into everything I learned these 7 years and you heard in this podcast. And then when it's time for you to get into the limelight, you hit up me directly and say, "Hey, Chris, I'm willing to take that offer. Let's split the profits and I'll see you in the limelight." So that's the plan, and that's how we're flowing through life now. And I'm not a videographer, I'm not a content creator, I'm not a marketer, I'm not a brander. I love creating value with valuable people, and if you're valuable, I want to create with you because we're going to impact this world.
I love it, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you. And
you.
thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.
All
Ciao,
right,
brother.
peace out, dude.